following is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on News Talk 580 KMJ and 105.9 the FM KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Southern California. I'm your host, Craig Barton, and welcome. And the kidding starts already on Sunday morning. The most important hour of radio each week here on News Talk 580 and 105.9 KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated, because we're quirky.
Because we're quirky.
Because we're quirky. It's a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to the crazy world that we live in and helping you. Yes, we're here to report on quirky in this crazy world. Helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. You know, within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice, and it's exactly trusted financial advice.
From quirky people.
From quirky people, yeah, exactly.
Makes perfect sense.
Just exactly. Count on us, exactly. And that's exactly what you're going to hear every Sunday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on News Talk 580 and 105.9 KMJ. It almost sounds like the NBC call, without that dun, 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 right, Johnny? Happy Sunday. How old? Oh, stop it. Oh, my gosh.
Is it black and white?
Yes, it is black and white. As a matter of fact, in my head right at the moment. How did you know?
Yeah, because me too.
Because it is black and white in your head, too. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Johnny B behind the mics. How you doing, Johnny?
Hi, Johnny.
Happy Sunday morning. It's a week. We are a week removed from Father's Day.
Bummer. Yeah.
Did you have a good Father's Day, buddy?
I did, actually.
Tim O'Hare, our
good morning, everyone.
Our licensed money guy.
Yeah. Kids are always good to me.
You played golf.
I played golf in the morning, and then, very early in the morning.
Did you really?
Well, I had to before we got here. I started at like 5:45.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
that's why he was all sweaty and yucky when he got here, clomping around.
And it was not a very good round, but it was fun.
It wasn't?
Yeah. And then had the kids in the afternoon, barbecued. Yeah, it was a great day.
Nice.
So, yeah, thanks for asking.
Yeah, good deal. I had a phenomenal Father's Day.
Basketball.
Yeah, it was basketball with Peanut most of the day. I got done about 1 o'clock, and then went home, barbecued, had lunch with the missus and the boys. It was really nice. It was very low key.
My kids were home with their dad.
Yeah.
So I was home alone.
You were home alone.
And I was actually working from home in the afternoon, like
working
I do.
From home.
Duh. My boss is a slave driver.
My boss is
No, so my Father's Day was great.
I don't think she's painting that.
No, it's completely untrue.
Yeah.
No, it's completely untrue. But I was just bored.
Yeah.
I wonder if our guest has celebrated Father's Day.
Keith, you have any kids that you know of, buddy?
I have 2.
You do? Congratulations.
Thank you.
How old are they?
21 and 2.
No.
Oh, my gosh.
21 and 2.
And if you saw him, he doesn't look a day over 25.
Yeah,
when he said 21, I was shocked. And then when he said 2, I was like, whoa.
So you were 4. So you're in the Guinness Book of World Records, right? Right. Yeah. The youngest ever to...
Wow.
Procreate.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, my gosh. That other voice in the studio, that's Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor and Associates. I don't know. I'm going to use the same explanation that I use for termites. Now, Keith's going, whoa, this is going bad already. No, when you talk about termites here in the Central Valley, there are, and I learned this from a dear friend of mine, another agent. We used to work together, Rip Hovde. Shout out to Rip, buddy. Hope you're listening this morning. Rip said there's 2 types of homes here in the Central Valley. One that has termites and one that's going to get termites. True. Right? Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Saw a few homes last week with my friends that had some termites. That's a whole different Geraldo. That's another show that we're going to have coming up here when we have our termite inspector here on the show on Sunday morning. But Keith here in the Central Valley, Keith's here to talk about credit repair. And really, when you talk about folks that have been through, if you lived through... Let's see here. April of 2006. That was when the real estate market in the United States was at an all-time high as far as housing prices are concerned. Scary part is, we talked about this last week, is that we are 14% as of last month. We are 14% nationally below that high. A little scary. But my point was, if you made it through the last 8 years, roughly, I think there's probably folks, if you didn't have some bumps or bruises on your credit, you didn't have credit. And may have not, for whatever reason, may have not had, it wasn't necessary for you, or you were so set or had more money than God, and you didn't need to function in society, and you didn't have credit. Well, then you just didn't. But otherwise, if you did, there's so many people that came through the last 8 years with bumps and bruises, and that's where Keith and J.L. Taylor and Associates comes into play, because you help make bad stuff go away. And we're going to talk about that in a little greater detail. And as we mentioned, we've got Johnny B behind the mics, Tim O'Hare, our licensed mortgage professional here in the studio, and Lisa Casso, Client Mommy.
Good morning.
When I say Client Mommy, I have to stop because I'm a little self-conscious from last week's show when we got that email from Sylvia, and Sylvia says, "So Craig, what is it exactly that you do?"
Yeah.
You're a mystery man.
Yeah, well, no, I haven't done a real good job of making sure that people understand what I do and what we do. But Lisa, when I say Client Mommy, that is an extremely important responsibility and job title.
It's not really my job title, though.
No, it is in
really your heart, perhaps.
In my heart. It does give me the warm and fuzzies, but really when it comes right down to it, you're the director of first impressions, you're the director of disseminating a phone call that's coming in and trying to get as much information as you possibly can and possibly lead them in the right direction, hopefully lead them in the right direction. And then those folks that are looking for a home, utilizing our services on valleywidesells.com. Let's say they're searching for a new home and they've signed up on the website and they just need a little guidance or a little help. Right. So you're that person. You really are that person that does it all.
I love my job. So, being a mom, for everybody who doesn't know me, I have 5 kids. So being a mom anywhere is easy.
Comparatively speaking,
come on.
right?
It's way easier than that gig I had.
We're a bunch of children is what you're trying to say.
Basically, because I'm with you 2 all day. So. And my babies... I want to make
sure I got my
babies turned 21 last week.
Ducks in line.
My kids have all outgrown that whole toddler.
So isn't that amazing? You guys both have you have 2 21-year-olds, and you've got 1 21-year-old.
My babies turned 21 last week. My older ones are older. Ugh.
Wow. Are the 21-year-olds the youngest?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
But thanks for that.
Thanks for bringing that up.
I got a little note on Facebook from my daughter. I'm going to be 21 tomorrow, the day before her birthday. And I said, wow. And she goes, yeah, Mom, you're old.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's okay.
Kazing bang. All right. The Real Estate Radio Network gives us the opportunity to reach so many people efficiently for 1 full hour each and every week because we're quirky. I'm going to throw that in the show. Our goal of the Real Estate Radio Network is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market. We're going to share with you some of the. I'm already doing it this morning. We're going to share with you some of the some financial secrets that the big banks and Wall Street don't want you to hear, so we can help bring you back home. On today's show, this first topic, I want to just laugh. I just want to bah-ha-ha before. Did you hear this week Lois Lerner, the former head of the IRS? So just exactly, Lois, just how do you lose 24,000 emails from 2009 to 2011?
They'll go to spam?
We're going to talk about that. And Underwater Homeowners Receiving help from California, a California program. That number has increased pretty dramatically. It's still a very small number, but it has increased pretty dramatically. And why is your attitude everything when it comes to success? Johnny's attitude is phenomenal. Every Sunday morning.
Jazz fingers.
And again, as we mentioned, we have Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor and Associates. He's going to talk about credit restoration. I like that. That sounds so regal, as opposed to credit repair.
Oh, I do.
Credit restoration. You're restoring something that is so imperative because we are a credit-driven society, and without credit, Dave Ramsey does believe that pay cash for as much as you can. But I got into a little trouble with a consumer because I'm an endorsed local provider for Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Also, on the KMJ network. And the consumer called up one time and said, this consumer called up and said, hey, my wife and I want to qualify for a home. And said, okay, well, tell me about your situation. And, well, we want to do it with this and that and the other thing. And I said, well, here's the deal. You know as well as I do that Dave says cash is king, and, having your emergency fund and being ready to go is so, so important. But you do have to do some things to show up on the radar. And boy, let me tell you, his attitude changed immediately. It was almost as if I were like bad-mouthing Dave, and that wasn't the case. I just said you have to understand what you need to do in order to play the game, in order to show up on the radar. And it doesn't take much. And I wasn't advocating irresponsible behavior by any stretch of the imagination. Do you know that he contacted Dave's office and said,
wow,
this guy he's not preaching the word like you preach the word, Dave. And so I had to basically rebut his claims in terms of, what was I talking about? And we're all good as far as...
Was he trying to finance, or was he going to pay cash?
No, he wasn't going to pay cash. And that was my point, is that you had to show up on the radar. You had to be able to provide some proof of your ability and intent to pay. So ability and intent, I believe, is a firm representation as far as what shows up on your credit report. Mm-hmm. And you've got to show up on the radar, the credit report being the radar, so that others will see your best foot forward and determine that you are credit worthy, that we will extend credit to you.
Yeah, handshakes just don't work anymore.
Well,
as much as we
in a lot of realms, handshakes do work pretty good. But we've got Keith here in the studio, and he's going to talk to us in a little bit about credit restoration and just some of the things that he and J.L. Taylor and Associates are able to do in order to get you back on the right path. We're also going to take some listener questions, so make sure you stay with us. We have got an action-packed show today. It's going to be quite busy. So do you have a question or a topic that you'd like us to address here on the Real Estate Radio Network? Well, it all starts with one call. Give us a call anytime. And I say anytime, not just during the show. In other words, don't forget about us during the week, because if you do have a question, write this number down, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. If you've got questions about, let's see, how do I raise my credit score? Good question. Or let's say that I've got a question about a short sale. Or how do I get a free credit report? Or how do I save monies on insurance? Better yet, how do I roll my 403B over to an IRA because I've stopped working for the company that I've been working for, and I have specific timelines that I have to meet. I've got 60 days, and I've got to roll those monies. Give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Take us with you wherever you go, if you dare. And listen to us right now at KMJNow.com. You can also check out our resources online and listen to past shows from the Real Estate Radio Network by going to ValleyWideSells.com. Well, let's take a look at today's hot property. Today's hot property is 811 Claremont Avenue. This former model is 5-bedroom. I was scolded by one of our support staff, who shall remain nameless. 5-bedroom, 3-bath home built in 2005 because public record shows 4-bedroom, but it is actually a 5-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2,797 square foot. This former model, based in Sanger, has, let's see here, over $80,000 in builder upgrades, from carpet to crown molding to tile. Over $80,000 in builder upgrades. So if you actually built this home new, it would probably at the moment cost you far more. List price, $299,900. So just slightly over $100 a square foot. 107 to be exact. If you'd like to schedule a private showing for today's hot property, give us a call, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. And we'll send you more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Well, I've been dying to get to the story. Lois Lerner, former head of the IRS. So, Lois, just exactly how do you lose 24,000 emails from 2009 to 2011?
Delete.
So,
It's only $1,000 a month.
Delete.
Right?
Well, it is only $1,000 a month.
I imagine she gets a lot.
I would imagine she does get a lot too. And answering your question, no, they did not all go to spam. What I find difficult to believe is that the federal government expects that this response is really going to be accepted in terms of, there's a trail. And there's a trail of where the emails actually went as well. So not everybody's computer or everybody's server crashed. I think this was
at the same time.
At the same time. And I think what you're going to find is, I saw on a couple news shows this week, is this something that we should accept? Absolutely, positively not. Because the more that we feel that the federal government is being dishonest with us with regards to, everybody knows that Lois Lerner was being accused. The reason why she stepped down is because of her agency, quote unquote, targeting different groups with different political affiliations. Obviously, that wasn't kosher, to say the least, right, Johnny? That's why she was forced to step down. Well, then she goes and testifies and pleads what? She pleads the Fifth Amendment before Congress. Once again, a problem. I'm not saying that there's something to hide, but something tells me that something's a little fishy here. Now, the latest is that there's 24,000 emails that just, quote unquote, ended up on a server that crashed. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't buy off on the fact that that was one server or one sector on that hard drive that just can't be recovered. Because when you have backups, and you have backup to the backup. And that everything in that redundancy actually just stopped working. And for some reason, we can't pull that information up. So, exactly. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is going to be some sort of panel or some sort of inquiry that delves deeper into this. And honestly, I think all they're doing is they're just going to make it worse. It's kind of like that lie as a kid that you told because you did something and you got in trouble, and you lie to cover up the lie, and the next thing you know, guess what?
Snowball.
Yeah, because the belt whooping that ends up coming down is just far worse.
Not anymore.
Well, not anymore, no.
It's not politically correct to do that.
But it's going to, I really truly believe it's going to end up being far worse. Or at least they stretch it out to the point where Obama's getting ready to leave office, and then it all comes out afterwards, and then it affects the...
I wonder if that timing actually might occur. Huh?
What's that? I wonder if that... Doesn't it always? My God. It always occurs, to be quite honest. So it's unfortunate. Well, let me tell you, if you're thinking of selling your home but not sure what professional to ask, what exactly is my home worth? We were talking about it this week on Chris Daniels' show on, Monday. We were talking about comparables. Sometimes it's a little difficult if you don't live in that Centex subdivision, is that example that I give, and you have a 1,352 3-bedroom, 1,352 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's really easy to compare because there's 62 others that were built in that subdivision. It just so happened that 6 sold in the last 90 days. That's a great representation of really what market's doing. Well, if you're unsure and you'd like a little input, just go to our website, valleywidehomevalues.com. Again, that's valleywidehomevalues.com. At the very least, if you don't get a market analysis back, it's going to spark a conversation, and that conversation will hopefully help to give us more information about your property and some of the amenities that you have, some of the upgrades that you've done. And yes, if you do have gold toilets, you may not get that money back in that investment, or you may want to take them with you.
Tim, told you not to do it.
Told you not to do it, buddy.
Not me.
Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions, or let's say there's a topic that you'd like us to cover on the show, give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Take us with you wherever you go and listen to us right now. Really, KMJ, if you've gone to the KMJ website, you can listen to all sorts of podcasts. It's a great thing. Listen to us live right now. You can listen to any of these shows, Ray Appleton, Chris Daniels throughout the week, John and Jen, on their podcasts.
Listen to Chris Daniels' podcast from June 16th.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Then you'll have Craig.
That's a shameless plug, Lisa.
No, I wasn't there. You were.
You can also check out our resources online by going to valleywidesales.com. Well, again, we mentioned we have Keith Taylor from JL Taylor and Associates. Keith's here in the studio to talk with us today about credit restoration. How many of you out there can actually raise your hand and say that since 2006, It's been a bumpy ride. Make sure you stay with us. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network, helping you to redefine real estate here on News Talk 580 and 105.9 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Rick Ransom, a local guy, began his career in mortgage lending in 1989. In 91, he became one of the first reverse mortgage lenders in California. Since that time, he's helped hundreds of seniors with reverse mortgages and other senior-related issues. And he's one of the few in this business who is a CPA.
This is Rick Ransom. Much of what you hear on TV and radio is not altogether true. There is misinformation. A reverse mortgage can help you supplement your retirement, pay off your existing mortgage or credit cards, even purchase a new home. If you're ready for a free face-to-face meeting with someone with 45 years experience in the application process, call me at 221-5355. That's 221-5355. I look forward to meeting with you.
DRE number 513201, NMLS number 240770.
Have you ever thought about going solar? It's never been easier to go solar than with a SunPower lease. You'll start saving money the very first day. Arise Solar has a team of energy consultants ready to help you determine if going solar is right for you. Start taking control of your energy costs. Contact Arise Solar, your local SunPower Elite dealer at 449-8989. That's Arise Solar at 449-8989. Or use press 4 keywords, Arise Solar.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let Craig and his team at Valleywide help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Start the search for your next home by visiting our website at valleywidesells.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, as we mentioned before the break, we've got Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor & Associates here in the studio this morning to talk about credit restoration. So let's make it real clear. Obviously, you know where I stand on this issue as far as credit restoration is concerned. If you've lived anywhere in the United States over the last 8 years, you've probably come through the last 8 years. If you haven't, you probably come through the last 8 years. I always need to finish my thoughts, right, Lise? You've probably come through the last eight years with not totally and completely unscathed. And if you have, you probably haven't used a whole lot of credit or needed to use credit per se. So what Keith does, you first and foremost, let's talk about as far as credit restoration is concerned. First of all, who is J.L. Taylor & Associates?
We're a company that's based out of Dallas, Texas, and we have offices in California, 5 offices in California, Fresno, Campbell, San Diego, Paso Robles, and then we also have an office in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow, I'd say there's a couple locations there that I'd want to spend a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Probably makes it real difficult. Excuse me, you're probably the first to raise your hand and say, hey, I'll take all the clients that you want to give me from Vegas, because it'd give me a great excuse to get there.
I'm actually would raise my hand for the San Diego clients.
Yeah.
Me too.
There you go. So let's talk about credit restoration. What exactly, for our listeners, to break it down very simply put, what exactly is credit restoration, and what exactly do you guys do?
Basically what we do is we analyze credit reports, and we determine what needs to be removed from those credit reports to raise the score of the clients, and not only the negative items, but also we look at the positive trade lines as well. A lot of the positive trade lines will have late payments, which it ends up being negative as well, and also with the positive trade lines, if they're carrying more than a 30% balance on, say, a credit card, it's gonna report almost like a negative item as well, because it's not, when you're maxing out your cards and you're not paying them off, the algorithm reads it in a way in which it lowers your score.
Which I see a lot of credit reports, and I find it interesting in that, everyone says, well, I pay my bills on time. But that's not all of it, correct?
No, not at all, because they'll pay their bills and they'll make a monthly payment on time, but then they have a $1,000 limit and they're at $990.
And then, and then it cycles, and the finance charge hits, and they're back over their limit again. And next thing you know, being over your limit is you might as well have missed a couple payments in the last 12 months, because it really affects the same.
Pretty much. It almost does affect it the same. And what happens is, like I said, if the magic number is 30%, you don't want to carry a balance over 30%.
Shows restraint.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And the algorithm likes restraint.
and it likes payments.
Yeah. So. I was going to say, you could tell that it struck a chord with Tim when you started talking about carrying balances and this and that, because I could tell the hair on the back of your neck started to stand up. It kind of squirrel.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I see so many people that, because we pull a mortgage credit report in our office, and do you pull that type, or is it?
Well, the credit reports we do get are from all three
agencies. Okay.
Yeah,
so on the mortgage type credit reporting agencies that we pull, I'll pull up a credit report, and they'll say, well, I have my free credit report, and it shows my scores at whatever their score is, 680, 690, and then I'll pull it, and it'll be something completely different.
Exactly.
And a lot of times I go through education with the client, but I'm not in the restoration portion of it. So for me, I can give them some ideas of what might help. And now that we've met and actually have a successful client going forward, which is awesome, might be some referral back and forth as far as clients I can't work with. You can help out and send back and forth. And I'm kind of excited about that, because, I can tell customers what to do, but if I don't have a game plan for them completely written out,
or someone that can execute on the game plan,
that has the time to, because I think that's part of it too, is that there's time consumption involved.
There's a lot of time consumption involved, so that's the most important. We have a processing center. Our processing center is located in Fresno, and that's the biggest thing is getting back to the bureaus and the original creditors and all the people that are involved in the circle. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have the time to do that. They forget, and if you miss just one deadline, you can adversely affect your credit. So it's like I use an example of you can fix your car on your own, but you'd rather take it to a mechanic.
Yeah.
So when folks come to you, what are some of the most common reasons that they come to you for? I.e., they went and applied for, and I'm just giving an example, they went and applied for a Best Buy credit card and something showed up, or they went and applied for a mortgage. What most commonly do you see the reason why they come to you?
We're dealing primarily about 80% of them are for mortgages. So they come to us because they've been denied a mortgage. Normally the correct me if I'm wrong, I know that some of them are, but 640 is usually the magic number, and FHA loans usually 580 is the magic number. But then there's a lot of stipulations that, from my research, that there cannot be a late payment in the last year. So that throws out everybody, even if they have the 580. So everyone, there's not one person that I've seen that has a 580 score that doesn't have late payments all over their credit report. Right. So that's why I say 640 is usually the magic number, because you're normally not going to find somebody to back that loan, a bank that's going to actually back a loan, unless they have a 640 score.
Sure.
Most of the time, I don't ever really see anything less than 640.
And it's funny because even as I have a client right at the moment that I'm working with, and that even with a 670 mid-credit score, we were still unable to get Fannie Mae's desktop underwriter to like the file or to accept or approve the file. So there are those instances in today's, and I don't want to say much tighter credit market, but it's the underwriting engine. Because, Tim, back in the day, we used to be able to sit down and look at a file and crunch the numbers and be able to pretty much give you, when I run this through LP, Loan Prospector, or Desktop Underwriter, that I was going to get an approve eligible. And if it didn't hit the score requirements, or it had an excessive debt to income ratio, we'd typically be able to tell you, probably not going to. We can confirm it just to make sure. But in today's credit climate with Desktop Underwriter and Loan Prospector, they each have their own little quirks in terms of what they will allow and what they won't. And just like this particular anomaly, we having this file that comes through and a 670-something wasn't sufficient. And it wasn't sufficient at any loan-to-value or at any purchase price that resulted in a lower debt-to-income ratio. So then we go back to, and this is, I apologize for the long, drawn-out statement or story, but then we go back to, so what were the things on the credit report that really is weighing down the credit score and preventing Desktop Underwriter or Loan Prospector from actually approving it and saying, hey, this is worthy of us as a mortgage-backed security? Well, what ultimately the issues were is it had a first and a second mortgage.
With late payments, probably.
No, that had been foreclosed.
Or that as well.
5 years ago. So you had a first and a second on a mortgage that had gone to foreclosure 5 years ago that still was lurking in the background and preventing this.
Even though technically it should be approved.
Well, technically it should be approved because you've exceeded what? The time requirements, the 3 years.
But the banks won't back it.
But the underwriting engine, the automated underwriting engines just didn't like it. So this would be a perfect example of a client that we would say we have one of two choices. We can try what's called a manual underwrite, which a manual underwrite is going to be more expensive. It's more costly because there's what we call additional ads because it's a manual underwrite because the underwriter has to look at all the different criteria.
They actually have to work.
They actually,
right? I'm sorry.
Wow.
I didn't mean that.
All of a sudden, our listenership, you can see the little dial over here. It went up, and I guarantee you it's underwriters and pre-processors. You got their attention. But yeah, they're going to have to sit down and actually manually underwrite the file. So it definitely can be said that a lower credit score will not only adversely affect your ability to qualify for a mortgage or credit, but will also adversely affect the amount of money that you pay back over the life of the loan. So let's talk about just exactly how do you, for those of our listeners that are listening, and let's say we piqued their interest. We're talking about restoring one's credit. And they've had some issues in the past, whether it's a bankruptcy, whether it's a foreclosure, whether it's medical bills, because let's say they had to go to the emergency room or something like that. How do you go about helping them restore their credit profile?
Well, what we do is we go in and we remove those from the credit report. So we'll have to, basically the same way we remove a collection or a charge-off or late payments or tax liens, bankruptcies, repossessions, foreclosures, student loans, all of those, we go about those the same way.
You covered about 85% of the population here in the state.
And just to throw it out there, I mean, there's a lot of people that come to us that probably 99% of them are very embarrassed to even come into the office because they have bad credit.
Let's pause on that real quick. And the reason I say that, because I think we find the same thing, so it's nice to be able to compare notes. We find that most folks that call, it used to be back in the day that of 10 phone calls, we could make loans for 8 out of 10. Now that we've gone through, and that's a combination of things, because credit scores were much higher nationally. It's been documented. That's no surprise. It's no shock. And also because of the programs that were available at the time. Well, some of those programs are coming back. And in order to put yourself into a position, we've got lenders that are out there that are able to make some pretty crazy loans right at the moment, all things considered, when you're less than 2 years out from a bankruptcy or foreclosure. But if you really want to qualify for the best rate, and you've got some of that baggage or hair that's showing up on your credit report, that's where they need to talk to you in order to get that stuff off the credit report. How do you guys go about getting it off the report?
It's basically we request documentation that they normally can't provide us, and basically they have a certain time frame, usually 30 days, to supply us with that material. If not, then they have to remove it.
Gotcha.
That's basically the first step in going about getting removed. There's a lot of other steps that we take.
I apologize. Let me back up real quick. So, once again, my pre-Alzheimer's is setting in. But you were talking about those folks that are embarrassed.
Exactly.
To make that initial call, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to bring this to light and get the word out this Sunday morning, is that if you have experienced something, let's say it was because of your own demise, meaning that you said, I really felt in 2007 that the housing market was going to leave me behind, and because of that, I used my mom and dad to help qualify as non-occupant co-borrowers with an FHA loan to purchase a home. 3 years later, I lost my job. And because of that, my wife's income wasn't sufficient to be able to continue to make the payments. So we had to make a choice. It was food, or we had to move in with our relatives or in-laws or whatever it might be. That's a lot of people here just within earshot of this radio signal. And being embarrassed, totally get that. Totally get folks being prideful. I totally and completely understand. But the first step is understanding that they can contact you. And again, they can contact you. You can contact Keith at 559-472-3147. Again, that's 559-472-3147. If you let's say you just want to start with questions. And a lot of folks, it's easier, it's easier to do it over the phone initially, as far as contacting Keith, asking questions. How does the process look? Let's start there. So we take some of the mystery out of the equation. Someone hears the show this morning and says, it is stopping me from purchasing a home. Okay. Or let's say 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I applied for a mortgage, and because of the derogatory information that was contained on there, it's just stopping me. So they contact you, and how does the process look from there?
The process looks from there is normally the first question that I would ask them, if obviously they were trying to get a mortgage loan, I would ask them if they have a current credit report from all three bureaus. And if they don't, then we could supply them with one.
Gotcha.
And then we would, once we receive a current credit report from them, then we could do we would do a free consultation with them. We could either do that over the phone, or they could come into one of our offices, and then we would go through the whole credit report with them, their positive trade lines as well as their negative and derogatory and collection items.
Sure.
But the first step is to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. At some point, because I hear all the time, I want to buy a house, but my credit sucks, and I don't know what to do. And it's like, okay, well, that's why we need to pull the credit to take a look at what you really got, and then we can go from there.
I would agree, Tim, because I think so many folks actually think you'll hear them make the comment, "Oh, it's so far shot." Well,
how do we know?
I hear that all the time as well.
How do you know?
And what happens when I go over it with them, they go, "That's it?"
Yeah. It doesn't seem that bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when people have one or two items, they think that's just horrible.
Right.
But what they don't understand is, I would say 80% of Americans have bad credit. Something that's negative or derogatory. Exactly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of doctors and lawyers that are clients of ours. It's not because they don't have the money to pay. It's just they're so busy they forget to pay bills.
Yeah.
And they have late payments and collections and what have you. And there's, like I said, there's doctors and lawyers that come to us as well. It's not just the janitor or the painter or what have you. It's all walks of life come through our office.
Awesome deal. Again, if you'd like to speak with Keith directly, give Keith a call. It's the first step in credit restoration. 559-472-3147. Again, 559-472-3147. Keith, will you stick around with us for the rest of the show? Awesome. Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions or questions regarding the information that we're sharing with you on the show this morning, it all starts with one call. Give us a call anytime, 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. Take us with you wherever you go and listen to us on your smartphone at KMJNow.com. And you can also go to our website and search for your next home at ValleyWideSells.com. Well, again, after the break, we're going to continue our conversation with Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor and Associates, our credit restoration expert here in the studio. And we're also going to take some listener questions. Make sure you stay with us. You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Network, helping you to redefine real estate here on News Talk 580 and 105.9 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Rick Ransom, a local guy, began his career in mortgage lending in 1989. In 91, he became one of the first reverse mortgage lenders in California. Since that time, he's helped hundreds of seniors with reverse mortgages and other senior-related issues. And he's one of the few in this business who is a CPA.
This is Rick Ransom. Much of what you hear on TV and radio is not altogether true. There is misinformation. A reverse mortgage can help you supplement your retirement, pay off your existing mortgage or credit cards, even purchase a new home. If you're ready for a free face-to-face meeting with someone with 45 years experience in the application process, call me at 221-5355. That's 221-5355. I look forward to meeting with you.
DRE number 513201, NMLS number 240770.
Have you ever thought about going solar? It's never been easier to go solar than with a SunPower lease. You'll start saving money the very first day. Arise Solar has a team of energy consultants ready to help you determine if going solar is right for you. Start taking control of your energy costs. Contact Arise Solar, your local SunPower Elite dealer at 449-8989. That's Arise Solar at 449-8989. Or use press 4 keywords, Arise Solar. All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valley Wide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let Craig and his team at Valley Wide help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Start the search for your next home by visiting our website at ValleyWideSells.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valley Wide Homes to work for you.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Listening to the Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Yes, well, as we mentioned, we have a miracle worker here in the studio this morning. It is Keith Taylor. Sorry, Keith. I don't know if you've noticed, because you don't necessarily know us all that well yet. But we like to keep it kind of light because we're quirky.
I like it.
We like to keep it light because you never want life to get that serious. I love when that music's playing in the background because I sound like Fred Thompson talking about reverse mortgages. So as we mentioned, we got Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor and Associates. Keith is our credit restoration specialist here in the studio this morning. So when you talk about, we were talking about if someone has a foreclosure or a short sale, I'm sure you and a short sale where it was actually derogatory prior to actually the payoff being shorted, because those are the ones that typically only show up as derogatory. Those are just some of the things that you've been able to get removed, tax liens as well, that you've been able to get removed from folks' profile. What are some of the craziest things or some of the greatest success stories that you've seen as far as credit restoration's concerned?
I mean, we see success stories all the time, and it's normally, like I said, we're dealing with a lot of mortgages these days, and it's these mortgage companies will send over their clients, and we're able to restore their credit and get them their dream home. And so these families, they love us. And the thing is,
I would say it's pretty easy to, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, it makes me feel good about what I do as well, because I'm able to help people. So being able to help people is fulfilling to me as well. So that's another really good thing about what we do, is we're actually helping people.
Helping them to fulfill the American dream.
Exactly. Attaining something that they normally would not be able to do without our services.
Typically, what's the time frame? I guess it probably depends upon the number of accounts, but let's say there's 2 accounts on there. They're both mortgages, a first and a second. To set the expectation, typically how long does it take to get that rectified?
Typically, with just a few items on there, probably about 90 days.
Gotcha. So there is hope.
There is definitely hope. And then just to answer the question completely, with something with a lot of items on there, and different types of items matter as well, like your judgments and bankruptcies take a little bit longer to get removed. So our program is a 6-month program, and normally we can resolve issues in 90 days, but for the most part, most of them we resolved at the end of the 6 months.
Super.
What about, do you deal with identity fraud victims?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of identity theft victims as well, and that's what we
so
see
much
them
more
all the
prevalent
time.
nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it's scary.
And and the thing is they've tried themselves for years to get things removed from their credit, and they can't get it removed, and they come to us, and we're able to fix them right up and send them back to get a loan.
My sister has a medical collection. I've refied and purchased about 3 or 4 homes with her.
And every single time
she's got to pay off that same collection for $110. It's hilarious.
Well, it's not big enough to really get in the way, but it's just big enough that you got to deal with it.
It's
right?
an annoyance at this point.
So someone that has,
but the important thing is knowing how to do it, because paying is not going to get it off of your credit.
No,
a lot of times it will change how it's reporting. It'll say paid in full or settled for less than or what have you.
Yeah.
The thing is you want to have it permanently deleted, and that's what we do. We're experts in going in and not only negotiating a lower payment, but we can also negotiate to have it deleted as well from the report forever.
If I had $1 for every single time I was sitting in front of a client that said, well, the last time I bought a home or the last time I refinanced, they said that was going to be taken care of. Well, it's not, because last time what the lender did is the lender got a supplement showing that the tax lien was paid. We're not just talking about showing that it was paid, showing that you had dealt with it in the past. We're actually talking about having it removed. Permanently. Wow. It's better than. And
Craig's like a little boy in a candy store right now. You can see his face. He's like, oh, this guy's cool.
Johnny, she's talking about me again.
It's
early on a Sunday morning. You've got to be.
It's always exciting when we have new people.
No, it really is.
New stuff.
It really, really is. So if you're a consumer, again with earshot of the KMJ signal this morning, and you fit this conversation, which should be about 85% of the population here in the Central Valley. We were very close to the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis. So, if you have a foreclosure, whether it's a first or a second, you have a judgment, maybe some child support, repo. Now, and keep in mind, child support that's actually showing on the credit report that you're paying it. That's something that I don't know that you could necessarily. Could you get child support removed if you're?
There's 2 ways it reports, either positive or negative as well.
Right.
So it's just another trade line. So if you're paying your child support, that's not negatively going to affect you.
Right.
But if you're not paying it, of course it's going to affect you negatively. It's going to be like you're not paying your credit card.
Right.
in a way. It's derogatory.
Yeah, to clarify, so if someone does have a federal tax lien, like let's say it's an IRS lien, and it's still owing, you guys can't necessarily make it stop from getting picked up as a public record item, meaning that if you owe a balance to the IRS, they're going to want to get paid because taxes constitute a lien before any other lien. So they're going to want to get paid. But getting it off the credit report, how does that work?
Well, that's a good question because judgments and tax liens are things that do need to be paid.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't know, but we negotiate that for them. We can negotiate that cost, usually at around 40% of the total balance, and we also can get it deleted from the credit report permanently as well.
Yeah. Well, what about creditors? I had a client within the last year. They had a collection. It was let me think here. It was a Comcast collection that had been transferred to a company out of Florida. And I would tell you, other than the fact that the website was on the internet, you would think that they did not exist or that they did not want to receive any sort of payment whatsoever. Like really, that all they did was exist for the sole purpose of ruining people's credit.
Right.
Because we don't want any money. It sounds goofy, but seriously, my client did everything we could or everything he could until finally we contacted the Better Business Bureau in Florida there, and we were able to kind of weave our way around to the point where we found someone that was located near the business and actually asked him, hey, would you go in there and get a current phone number, because you'd leave a voice message and not get a response. How do you deal with situations like that? Because that's obviously, you would think if they're collecting, you owe them money.
Well, that's the thing is if we contact them and they don't respond back to us within 30 days, then that's when that account's going to go away, and you're not even going to have to pay it.
Right.
Because they can't justify that's actually owed.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not a valid account.
So if you don't answer your phone and don't pick up your mail, then chances are it's going to get removed.
Because what happens is the original creditor writes it off against their taxes after a certain amount of time, and there's a secondary market for selling bad debt.
Yeah.
And they pick up a $1,000 account for $100, say, and then they'll call you and bug you for, you settle it with us for $800 and whatever.
Right.
But most of the time when they do buy that bad debt, they don't have the original signatures and they don't have the original paperwork, so they don't get back to us, and they can't get back to us. So that just ends up getting removed, and then the client doesn't have to end up paying that account either.
Nice.
Exactly.
See, there is hope, right, Tim?
There's always hope.
There's always hope. So, again, if you're within earshot of the show this morning, and I think we've found a lot of folks' new best friend. Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor & Associates. If you'd like to take the first step in credit restoration, give Keith a call at 559-472-3147. Again, he may not answer the phone for a few more minutes, but after the show, after 10 o'clock, guaranteed he's accepting phone calls. Again, Keith Taylor with J.L. Taylor & Associates, 559-472-3147. We're going to transition here. We're going to take some listener questions. Steve from Reedley asks, what is the most important piece when it comes to financing? Debt, income, or credit score? And we've got Tim and Keith here in the studio. Take it away, guys. What's the most important piece when it comes to financing? In other words, securing a mortgage. Is it your debt, how much debt you have, how much income you have, or your credit score?
I don't think it's an easy answer, but the first and foremost is the credit score.
It's all interrelated.
Yeah, because the first thing is you have to attain that credit score, and then they'll start looking at debt ratio.
Right.
Otherwise, they don't even see a credit score that's worthy. They won't even go to the next step.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 if your credit score is not worthy.
Right.
Jim from Clovis asks, what is our recourse? In other words, what options do we have if we made an offer on a home 5 days ago and then drove through the neighborhood at night and on day 6 and found a lot of things that made us feel extremely uncomfortable? obviously, I'm
drug
assuming
trafficking.
Yeah, drug trafficking and ladies in the evening.
What address was this?
With ladies of the evening. Wow, there you go. Once again, the show goes horribly wrong.
Sorry.
Near the end. So what kind of recourse? Well, one of the things that Jim didn't clarify is they made an offer on a home. So the next thing that I would want to clarify is whether the offer was accepted or not. So if the offer wasn't accepted, but you had submitted the offer to the seller, 5 or 6 days in really doesn't matter. You're under no obligation because that contract expired 3 business days. That offer expired 3 business days after it was submitted. So really, no harm, no foul. Good thing for you and your wife that you took a little time in the evening to drive through the neighborhood to see, hey, what kind of folks came out at night.
Maybe do that before you submit the offer next time?
You know what? I think Jim probably will after the answer. Now, the other thing I will say is, let's say the offer was accepted. Now, within every California Association of Realtors contract, it's boilerplate that you have 17 days to do all inspections, unless it's otherwise negotiated.
Just a drive-by at night.
Yeah,
that's an inspection.
That's a drive-by inspection. I mean, come on now.
Well, and did he ever even place a earnest money deposit either?
If the offer was accepted by that point in time, it should have been submitted to escrow. Should have been. That's a good point. That is a good point. But here's the deal: just because they don't have your earnest money deposit doesn't mean they have recourse.
Right.
If you're in a contract, but then again, though, if you're in a contract and it's within the first 17 days after the contract's been ratified, so everyone has signed, you can cancel for any reason. That's the reason why they have that 17-day period, and it must be removed in writing. A lot of agents and a lot of consumers think that it's removed in time. It's not. That's in time means passive removal. It is active removal. You must remove it in writing. And if not, it remains in effect throughout the entire course of the contract until it's closed. Jessica from Fresno, is the military action that's going on right at the moment in Iraq going to affect interest rates? Well, here's the deal. Anytime we see negative news or negative information that affects the markets, guess what? It's called the flight to safety. What you're going to see is you're going to see folks that are going to leave the stock market to the safety of the bond market. When prices go up, yields go down, and mortgage rates typically go down as well. So, again, the more negative news that you see in the market today, typically what? Mortgage rates go down. Exactly. Again, if you have any real estate or mortgage-related questions or questions regarding the information that we share with you on the show every Sunday morning, give us a call anytime. 800-979. Again, anytime.
Anytime, 11:30, because you know where those calls go.
Yes. 800-979-3958. Again, that's 800-979-3958. You can also check out our resources online and searching for your next home at valleywidesells.com. Well, a big thank you to our special guest host, Keith Taylor from J.L. Taylor and Associates. If you'd like to, again, take the first step in credit restoration, give Keith a call. 559-472-3147. Again, 559-472-3147. Special thank you to Tim O'Hare, our senior mortgage professional. I'm not calling you old, just so you know.
65 and up.
65 and up.
Hey, I'm not there yet.
And Lisa Casso from Valley Wide Homes. Big thank you to Johnny B behind the bikes. Behind the bike rack this morning. Thanks so much, Johnny. You always keep us on track. You know, our goal with the Real Estate Radio Network is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market, because we're quirky. We are going to tell you what the big banks on Wall Street don't want you to hear, so we can help bring you back home. Don't forget to tune into the Real Estate Radio Network next Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk 580 and 105.9 KMJ. Local news, local talk. Make it a great day, Central California, and we will see you next week.
The preceding is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.